Good evening, fishing people. I am going to explain what I call my double double rig. Now, some people do it, some people don't. Um, but my reasons for it are a little bit different than others. Basically, what my double double consists of is just that. It is a double of any two lures, but on a drop shot. Now, I do my bass version, and I do my panfish version, and I do my catfish version. Um, my catfish and my panfish version are on a slip bobber rig, so they're essentially a drop shot and weight to a spin shot or a regular drop shot hook with a swivel up further, which I usually don't do. It works on a slip bobber rig a little bit better than by itself, and into a slip bobber. And when I do that, I use small plastics, hot dog, corn, and knees. If I can get one out here. And I'm going to show what these go on in a minute. This is just showing you the actual bait that I typically use, besides what I catch with my cast net, of course. So these ones have been kind of growing for a while. And you can see it in my hand. That is a really super big mealworm, basically. I got about, I think, 6 dozen in here. I've been keeping them going, circulating dirt. I keep them in a cricket thing that I have that I taped off. And they keep for a while. They keep pretty good. I mean, you keep them for weeks as long as you feed them. Typically, tomato or apple work best as far as I know. Used to breed them actually a long time ago. Don't do that anymore. But I used to. So I'll put those on these number 8 salmon egg hooks that I get from China in 100 packs for like $4, and are really super thin gauge, and they essentially are supposed to be for salmon eggs, but they're like a sickle hook, and that's what I do with them. My kitten is saying to play tag with my knee. I have those in a double rig as well with my drop shot. Stop it. Hey, knock it off. Yeah, attacking my knee. That's really nice. So, on my double drop rig for bass, I have my drop shot rod. I have two 4.5 inch robo worms, the do nothing tails, one in an orange crush and one in an oxblood. Now, the reason I do that is they may be attracted to one color or the other, and whatever's going to get hit more times is what I'm going to switch to for both. Or they may just have a fancy for multiple colors. So I got my, if I'm going really deep water, I'll go with a 1/4 ounce. This is a 1/16. It's plenty. I try to get them to go as slow as possible, but it literally is a foot to 18 inches apart on 1/0 spin shots. I have 2/0 for bigger worms, and that's literally all it is. It's very dead simple on this particular one. And I'm going to go ahead and put this up real quick because I have cats all around me. And they don't like to listen. So that is going to go ahead and go to the side. Yes, Boo Boo, I see you. And you keep climbing up where I tell you not to. Go on, down. Down. Go on, down. You're not supposed to be on the shelf. Down. Down. Obstinate cats. Obstinate. Twisting my rods everywhere. For some reason, they're fun anyway. So on my bass one, I still also use smaller spin shots in size 1 and size 2. And what I use for those is the 2.5 to 3.5 inch class. I'll use these sculpin type imitations that have the really loose moving tail that work really good in current, by the way. And these likewise are kind of the same vein of things. I got the power leeches. This is a 3. I have 2-inch as well. Now, when I run the ones like these in the Sculpin, I will do them in pairs. I won't do the different baits because then it's going to confuse the fish. That's why I have 2 different colors of the same roboworm on my other one, because it's the same bait, it's just a little bit different color. So typically I'll run a couple of these. Now the reason that I really run the double rig with these type of baits and the roboworms is because it's an amplification. What I mean by amplification, I've been asked this before. Amplification of everything. You know, it's a 4.5-inch worm that I'm using. It's not the 6-inch. It's the 4.5. So I'm doubling that. I have a 4.5 and a 4.5. That's 9 inches of worm. It's displacing the same amount of displacement of water as a 9-inch, but it's doing it in 2 different pieces. So it's actually making more of a push of the water for the same size, basically. It's kind of akin to somebody getting a multiple subwoofer setup of smaller subwoofers to do the same thing that a large subwoofer would do. It will put out a faster response and push the same amount of air, basically. It's kind of the same thing in the water. So that's why I do that with the bass one. I'll put this away because I keep all my stuff put away because I'm really retentive when it comes to that. Now, also with the number size 1 and 2, I also like the roboworm, the shads that they have. These are the prism shad. They look just like baby rainbow trout, basically, that color. When I'm running these on a number 1 or number 2, I also will not use a different color. The only ones I use the different colors on are the roboworms, and it's almost identical colors. A little bit of variation just to see what they're kind of keying in on. And it wouldn't matter if it was in the green spectrum, the black spectrum, the purple, you know, all those different spectrums. I'm going to keep them as similar as I can while still trying them a little bit different. But these work really good when they're getting on schooled bait. They have a really good effect on that, and it's a slow thing. It's just like when people tell you not to go fast when you're drop shotting. It's the same thing, but it's even more subtle, and it's 2 instead of 1. So you're upping your chance of getting hooked. And here he is up here again. I told you 3 times off. Austin and Cats, love the boy, but damn. So if we get to the smaller one that I have, this is on one of my other ultralights. I have the Everlasting Slip Bobber, and it is going to 2 little number 8ers, and I have these on Palomar. Actually, it's not Palomar. I used Snell, and then I reversed it through the top. I can do the Palomar, but this is simpler, and it's actually stronger, by the way. I found it holds a knot better for me. So I've got 2 of them only about 8 inches apart. And then I have them also to a 16th instead of the, a 1/8 instead of the 16th that I have, because I want to get the bait down to the bottom as quick as possible, because it's the live bait that I was just showing you a couple minutes ago. So it's really for live bait. Like if I had smaller minnows, I could put them on these hooks, and the hooks are so small that when a fish grabs that bait, they're on the hook, because it's a ghost hook. They essentially don't see it. So for me, it's kind of a whole thing about naturalness and presentation, or as natural as possible anyway. So that's why I have that one. And I've really just I've fallen in love with the whole drop shot thing over again. I wasn't always in love with it, but I really started to really get into it. And I did a couple of videos. One was over an hour long, and one was about 45 minutes. Drop shot concepts of a redneck. It's a two piece series, and they work. Um, I've thrown the big swim baits. I've thrown the Magnum square bills. I mean, hell, I might as well show them now since we're talking about it. These big, super stupid, huge square bills. That one happens to be... Who does that? Well, I don't have the box anymore, but it's one of the main brands. Then I have a Skeet Reese mag. Super duper mag. It's got Skeet Reese's signature right on the top. It's got a lot of high glitter to it. When a lot of shadow running, like this is just stupid badass, but I don't have a Dobbins yet for my Alexa 400, so it kind of negates it. So, I got a pack of jerk baits and those things, and I do just fine on them. But I'm talking about drop shot. I'm not only talking about drop shot, I'm talking about double drop shot. Other baits that are involved in the bass setup, and these are RoboWorm as well, but I think they're discontinued now. And they're in that salt, pepper, shad type color. 3-inch fat dead stick. Really deadly in clear water. And even if they're just running on natural bait in somewhat murky water, they work really good. Really, really good. And I also have the Yum brands in the 4-inch. And I don't know, man. I just, something about them. There's a color there's a color pattern that works really good here in Arizona waters, which is that pumpkin pepper green flake type of vein of colors. So I've got those ones, the standard color. I've got 6-inch lizards that I put on drop shot. Yeah, I put lizards on drop shot, and the reason why, and a lot of people tell me I'm crazy for doing it, but the reason I do that is because it's a proven fact that if you make a lot of movement with a bait and make it as seductive as possible, a bass is just going to beat the hell out of what you're presenting to them, regardless if they're chasing that kind of bait or not. And I've encountered that a lot. So, this stuff is not my first go around with bass fishing. I've been doing it for a long time, but I go multi-species now. So, the ultralight, the medium light, medium heavy fast action. The rod that I'll be getting for my 400 will be the 908, because I'm going to be slinging all the way up to like 14, 16-inch baits when I use it. So what I'm talking about is finesse, and if you do finesse right, I mean, it can be stupendous. So that is it for that. Now I talk about scents, and I was one of those ones that I used Baitmate products for a long time. I saw success with them, but I really didn't think that they really put too much science behind what they were doing. I mean, to a point, but they wore out quick on the lure. They had to be reapplied all the time. And then I discovered a couple of things, and I've said these in other videos too. Now, I don't use this one very much. This is more of a just kind of get them in the zone, because it's got high vis UV enhancer, and it's garlic, and it's from a company that makes products under the name of the Fish Bomb. This one's called Extreme Garlic, and man, does it stink to high hell. but it works. That one I keep to the side because I'm going for more natural now. So I started with Gourmet Baits brand Original, which is made in Springfield, Illinois by a couple people. They use a fair amount of science, and it's really sneaky. Yeah. God, it smells like, no, how do I describe it? It smells like they stuck 1,000 dead minnows in this bottle. There's some pheromone in there, not a lot, but he has a few different things in his product. Now, I just got this one in, and I got it in Shiner because there's a fair amount. Excuse me, it's tired time. Pardon me. So, there's a company called BioEdge, and it's been recommended to me by more than one person. So I figured, well, let me go on eBay and I'll try it out. This is more science and pheromone related, but it also has the emulsified pieces of the actual bait in it. But it's purified to a really super high level. The one that I have is Shiner right now. I'm going to get a couple more. But I wanted to read this because this is important. I researched a lot of reviews on this. Now, there were a lot of really good reviews on the Gourmet Baits Original and the 7 or 8 other ones that he has from a lot of the Southern boys. But I'm Arizona Southern. There's a little bit of a difference. So I'm going to read this from BioEdge. Powerful fishing scents made from real bait. BioEdge potions are liquid concentrated extracts from natural baits containing oils, pheromones, amino acids, and enzymes. Choose the potions that match the baits the fish are striking. Apply to your lure and make it smell and taste like the real thing. BioEdge scents will last for hours, but for best results, reapply or change to another scented lure every 20 to 30 minutes. That's a pretty decent time. With the bait mate, I was doing it every cast. It says for baits and worms, pat dry and apply directly onto bait. Do not apply potions to live fish since the oil will block gills. Instead, use semi-solid wands. They have a wand that's like chapstick. Soft plastics. Pat dry and apply directly onto lure. For best results, store soft plastics in a Ziploc bag and marinate with BioEdge potion. That would probably last a long time. I would prefer to just put it on my bait and let it sit for a couple minutes. It says you can even use BioEdge potions on non-absorbent lures by applying a pipe cleaner wrapped around the line just above the lure, or by hooking on a piece of felt, sponge, or pork rind marinated in the solution. That's pretty cool. Now it says will remain effective for more than 18 months, but extract components will eventually deteriorate. It's biological. For best results, replace each season. That's reasonable. I mean, I fish all season, so, you know. 100% all natural. This one is designed for freshwater. Here's where it gets interesting for me. And there's kind of an oxymoronic statement on there that says not for human consumption. Now, I know a lot of things put that on there, but who in their right mind is going to try to eat this? I know there's going to be somebody out there that's probably going to try it because people have eaten Tide Pods of all things, but I just don't see it. So here we go. In the vein of freshwater, they have crayfish, frog, insect larvae, minnow, nightcrawler, salmon egg, shad, shiner, smelt, goby. That would be good for the goby lures. Leech. I have leeches, sucker, sunfish, trout. So they actually have these that have ground up sunfish in them for bass. That's pretty good. It says these are effective on large and smallmouth bass, catfish, carp, crappie, bluegill, muskie, perch, pickerel, pike, salmon, striped bass, sturgeon, sunfish, trout, walleye, and many more. That's freshwater. Now, saltwater. Ballyhoo, bloodworm, bunker, clam, crab, croaker, eel, finger mullet, herring, fresh and saltwater. mackerel, ribbonfish, sand eel, sandworm, fresh and saltwater, shrimp, fresh and saltwater, squid, and flounder. Effective: black sea bass, bluefish, bonefish, cod, drum, flounder, fluke, grouper, haddock, jack, mackerel, mahi-mahi, marlin, pollock, pompano, porgy, sailfish, sea trout, weak fish, sheep's head, spot, striped bass, tautog, tuna, wolffish, and many more. They got a lot of shit, I gotta tell you. And this is the kind that it's definitely got that smell, but it's not as abusive as this one. It's much more pure. If you were to take have you ever smelt your hand after you've handled a shiner or a minnow? It's kind of faint, but it's still fairly powerful. That's this. So this, as far as I'm concerned, is the most natural smelling out of these two. Now, granted, this for its size was more expensive than this for this size, but this has to be reapplied all the time. This lasts 20 to 30 minutes, if not a little bit longer, and can be reapplied and last that long. This one's 5 or 6 casts. So, you know. And the reason I bring that up, I need to also get the earthworm solution because I'm running roboworms. They don't look like shiners, so you would think a bass would kind of be smart onto the fact that that really just doesn't smell like it, and there's something wrong with that. So it would make me feel like they would ignore it in lieu of something that smells earthwormy or bloodwormy. And in fact, the bloodworm, to me, I would actually get the saltwater bloodworm version just for these roboworms. I just haven't done it yet because, income what it is, bills there to pay. But, I have these shad imitations, minnow imitations from roboworm in the shad that has the black top. Excuse me. The more light, translucent shad, which is kind of more of a glass minnow imitation, and then these rainbow. And I also have the Aaron's Magic, which is an interesting color, and in dark stained water works really, really good, actually. But yeah, I mean, it just seems to me to go natural is kind of the way to go. I've noticed it more and more. It's one of the reasons I really love using a cast net. The one I have is a Leafish or Joyfish series, made in China. It's done by hand. I believe it's on some type of loom machine. It's not completely by hand. It is facilitated and finished by hand, I believe. Well, it casts really good. It's got 1.25 pounds of weights per foot, and it's an 8-foot span, and it's 4 foot tall, which is the max legal here in Arizona. So that's why I have that max height of 4 foot. I've had very little problems from police, and I have had many problems from pedestrians who think that they know more about the law than the person fishing with something or catching bait. They assume wrong, and they're dumb, but they still call. So, also, piece of advice, have a text link or a notepad version of the regs if you throw a cast net at any state you live in that shows that you're doing something legal. Many times that will diffuse somebody from being a pain in the ass. Not always, but most times. So, I'm going to get into discussion of where we're going to use these things. Well, I go back to the notes that I had of my dynamics of natural imitations and drop shot techniques. So, anybody that's seen this video already knows I did a video on dynamics of natural imitations and drop shot techniques. Aquatic, already found in most waters naturally. Higher attraction to fish depending on which representation. Most realistic to natural diet, i.e., shad, minnows, lizards, salamanders in some cases. Waterborne insect, to an extent, also frogs, toads. I don't drop shot those. I haven't found one small enough and accurate enough to get. Instinct already has them high in eating priority of all species of fish. Terrestrials are what are not naturally occurring in an aquatic environment but get introduced by weather, by accident. They're usually targets of opportunity instinctually on the part of a fish. These can include ants, bees, wasps, cicadas, worms of all kinds, crickets, grasshoppers, caterpillars, beetles, flies, gnats, and skeeters, and hellgrammites. Hellgrammites are really effective, by the way. Hellgrammites are in most waters in the country. And they almost always get more violent strike response, I've noticed. If I put, I'll give you an example. Bluegills will beat the shit out of a piece of hot dog. They just will obliterate it. Or a Slim Jim when it's warmed up a little bit. They love oily meat. But if you put a hellgrammite or a cricket in the water, God help the strike you're going to get. Holy shitballs. The size of baits and tackle, and this is kind of getting into what I already did. With bass, hooks generally size number 2 to 1/0 circle, or mosquito type hooks if you prefer using a swivel up line. Weights 0 to number 9 split shot if that's the way you want to go. For standard, hard rigging, usually open water, 1/16 to 1/4 ounce ball and or cylinder weights. For soft rigging, i.e. so the weight is lost and not the whole rig. Line, drop shot, almost always fluorocarbon 4 to 8 pound. For finesse, 10 to 17 medium and 20 to 30 heavy cover. I really don't go heavy on my drop shot. I'd like to experiment with that. I do have a medium heavy rod I could do it with. I do not use braid or backing with a leader on my drop shot. I know some people say there's more sensitivity involved. I feel that I transfer more sensitivity through fluoro by itself. That's just me. Then there's wares and house, bass and crappie, straight down. Heavyweight down, quick, almost no action. I let it pull them naturally by just sitting there with its kind of natural motion. If it's angled, lightweight, letting it slow glide. There's an instinct bite associated with that. Crappie and panfish down in. By the way, bass and crappie is not the only thing. If it's trout, if it's perch, if it is gills deep in the winter time under ice, that same straight down will work. Crappie and panfish down in cover, lightweight, let it slowly come to them, above them so that they see it first. Angled over cover, i.e. stumps, logs, trees, rocks. Light a weight as you dare. Allow time for their response. It will happen, and it's not a joke. It will. So there's that. Practice. I've preached this before. Pools. Dear God, please, if you have a pool or access to one, if you have and know someone willing to give you the time on there, so use it. Test all your weights, baits, hooks, lines in the pools. Trust me, if you see it clearly how it works, you cannot go wrong when you're on the water because you know exactly what it does. See how your choices work. Practice a lot, okay? Hundreds of hours, thousands of hours. Think about how many hours are in a typical work week. There's 40, right? There is no way anybody in this world can tell me that they can't find time to get 100 hours in a year. It's not hard. It happens, especially if you fish 300 plus days a year like I used to. Oh, I got those hours in spades easily. So anyway, that's explanation of the double rig that I have. Different situations I use them in. This year I intend to try to do as much as possible. I want to try to do some damage this year. My friend Jim and I, we really just didn't get a chance to get hammered we didn't exactly fall short per se, but even with our knowledge, we were just kind of getting let down. And I really don't intend for that to go on. It irks me because when I'm on the community lakes, I kill it. I do very good, and it disturbs me that when I get on a lake that is a larger representation of the same damn thing, i.e., has a dam pushing flow like the boilers that they have in the ponds for oxygen, I should be able to do that, and it just hasn't happened the way it really should. We know what we're doing. We're not stupid when it comes to fishing, and it's irritating not to get some results. So I'm hoping by saying this stuff and showing it that I might help somebody else out with their luck. Try something that they really necessarily may not have done before, and kind of reiterate to myself as well. I find that when I talk, when I write things down, I reteach myself at the same time that I'm teaching somebody else. Fishing here in Arizona is unique. We have quite a fishery, but we have to be patient with the way we fish because the fishery is not the same as other ones. Like you go to the California Delta, you go to places like Clear Lake, any of the lakes in Alabama, any of the lakes in Florida, and you do anything even half-assed that works for bass, and you're gonna get pounded. It's not like that here. Oh, they're out there, but you gotta hunt and you've gotta try for a while to get the pigs. It's not every other fish like other lakes in other states. It takes a bit. So I hope that gives a little bit different perspective. I hope.